Well, hello, hello, hello. And I want to welcome you all to our Arizona History Happy Hour, where we're going to have a lot of fun this evening. So, we're going to run through a variety of things, as well as just a few moments, we'll make a cocktail. I'm a Negroni. So, hopefully, you've got your gin, your Campari, and your sweet vermouth all ready. And I'll make a delicious little cocktail that we can all share and join the festivities together. So I want to welcome you all as we are actually streaming right now on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. So we have a great night planned, as well as my friend Laura is here. We'll be talking about the Orpheum Theater, and we're doing a little bit of trivia. So hopefully you'll do well on that. But the fun thing is we always go through and explain the answers. So it's not just about what you know, but it's all about learning. So we're going to have fun. And a little about the reason why I'm doing this is, so my name is Marshall Shore. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't queue up some other things that I should have. So let's see. I just realized that. So, I started really doing this because I missed hanging out with people and chatting and sharing stories about history. And so this is just kind of a fun way to do that so that we can all kind of be in this together. Oops. And have an opportunity to learn, share. And I'm also excited because this evening we also have a viewer question. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known as the Hip Historian. Now you might wonder, how does one get a name like the Hip Historian? Oh, well, that didn't work. That's the wrong one, but let's. So don't mind that man behind the green curtain. It's all right. All right. So there we go. Much better. And that will disappear in just a moment. All right. There we go. So let's see. So welcome everybody as we get ready to just kind of start our evening and get ready for some fun. So my name is Marshall Shore, Arizona's Hip Historian. Now you might wonder, how does one get a name like the Hip Historian? Well, actually, a little over 20 years ago, I was working in a library in Brooklyn. And you know what? It was cold, it was winter, and I had been fed up with cold snow and decided that it was time to load everything I own into a big orange cube, a U-Haul. And they have their international war headquarters right here in downtown Phoenix. Now, how long have you been here? I've been here for 20 years. I know some of you have been here a lot longer than I have, but some of you have been here shorter than I have. But it's always kind of fun to see how long people have been around. So as soon as I got here, we moved into a 1956 ranch. Now, when we got it, it was beige on beige on beige on beige on beige on. And I think the shutters were yet another tone of beige just to annoy me. I'm happy to say it is a very simplified two-tone of seafoam and cantaloupe. Now, that's what my kitchen looks like today, with all that buttercream yellow tile, that matching stove top. But if you look at my in-the-well oven, that's that amazing buttercream yellow as well. What is missing from that oven? Now, if you say a door, Well, it's got a door, but there's a window missing. So that in the case of when I was baking my first cake, I opened the door, checked on my cake, and I let the door shut. It was at that moment I found out that my mom was not lying when she said, "Your cake will fall." Because you know what? It indeed fell, and no one likes a flat cake. Now, as soon as I got here, all I kept hearing about how there was no history. But I knew that wasn't true because every time I went for an adventure, I came face to face with so many amazing stories. And then there's that post-war boom. All those GIs either were stationed here, trained here, or passed through on their way to somewhere else. And they were moving here in huge numbers, and in some cases looking for a house just like mine. And then there's this man, Dr. Carrier, the inventor of air conditioning. So, how many of you turned on your air already? Because, it's getting hot. I know we've already made it into triple digits. As well as the Phoenix New Times has named me Best Historian several years in a row, as well as Phoenix Magazine named me the Best Bespectacled Phoenix Celebrity because I do indeed like my eyewear. Now, not that this is a good format to show, but, my mom always asks, "What is Marshall wearing?" Because I have my very own ideas of what I think looks good. Now, you remember February 14th, we have, some people haven't turned their air on yet. You are true Arizonans if that's the case. So, back in 2012, we had one heck of a celebration for statehood because it was 100 years of us being a state. And so someone gave me 15 minutes on the main stage, February 14th of 2012, at the state capitol. They had a huge stage set up and all kinds of festivities going on. And in my 15 minutes, there were no restrictions on what I could talk about. So I chose one of my most favorite events that most people don't know. It was started back in 1926 by Charlotte Hall, our first poet laureate. And if you're ever up in Prescott, you can go visit her house, which has been turned into a museum with her collection to start off with. It was also kind of the territorial governor mansion before we became a state. Now, the event was called Mask of the Yellow Moon. Oh, my sound is cutting in and out. Well, that's not good. All right, so hopefully we've stopped that. But if that happens again, let me know and we'll figure another workaround. So the Mask of the Yellow Moon was first held here at the Elder Shriners Temple, which is just down the street from the state capitol. And the building is still there. It became the Mining and Mill Museum. But for Centennial, they had these really big ideas and they got kicked out. But I'm happy to say this fun little quirky museum is going to be moving in. So very excited to see that happen. It's going to take them a couple years to bring the building back up to code. It'll also be run by U of A out of Tucson. Now, when the next year, it got a little bit bigger, and they decided to move it to Montgomery Stadium, which was our first stadium right here in Arizona. It was over on 7th Street and Roosevelt. Sadly, we lost it in about the mid-90s. But, being our first stadium, it was also home to our very first bowl game. Now, I sure wish somebody would bring this back because I know that's a bowl game I could really sink my teeth into, the Salad Bowl. And, what would you expect from the Salad Bowl? Why, none other than the queen of the Salad Bowl in the parade, riding on a float that is a huge salad bowl. And if you look close, you'll even see the spoon and fork that she's using to serve with. Probably to feed all that crowd that's in the background. Now, the event Mask of the Yellow Moon ran from 1926 to 1955. At its height, it had about 5,000 high school and college students performing. Now, the college would have been Phoenix College before it was Phoenix College, back when it was a technical college. They would really help build the sets. Now, it was woven through the curriculum of pretty much every high school in town. So you had the debate club doing skits, you had multiple marching bands, and just look at those really large sets. Now, I've got a story about a guy, him and his friends would go steal a bit of that set every year once the show was done, drag it to his carriage house, and then they would put on plays throughout the rest of the year in front of that bit of stolen set. It was also known for dance and lavish costumes. The costumes were designed by students and made by home ec. I guess that was back in the day when they actually had home ec in schools. And I was lucky enough to find a few dresses in a box. And so I was able to talk 3 friends into putting on these dresses. These are all from the late 30s. And if any of you know me, you know I'm not a very good wallflower. I needed something that would stand up to those amazing dresses. So I talked to my friend Glenn, who was a sign designer who rolled in town in the early 50s. And here he is actually accepting an award from the Arizona Sign Association, where he was admitted into their Hall of Fame. The first year, they inducted about 10 people from all across the sign industry here in Arizona, which was pretty cool. He's in his early 90s and designed a lot of signs that are still standing around town, including the My Flora sign, which is over on 7th Avenue and McDowell. And so Glenn painted this jacket as an homage to the Arizona state flag. And I think he did a heck of a job. Now, one reason why I always like to start off with the story is because you never know where the next bit of a story is coming from. And so I did a program for a group called the Arizona's First Families. And afterwards, a woman tapped me on the shoulder and said, I have something in the car to show you. And she brought this out. This is her mother's dress that she wore in the Mask of the Yellow Moon. Now, what I loved was that she also had the programs. So we know this dress was worn in either 1928 or 29. Not sure which. At that point, the librarian in me kicked in, and I didn't have on white gloves, and I wasn't about to touch those frail pieces of paper and damage them any further. So I'm hoping to get another chance to see exactly what year and exactly what number this dress was worn in, covered with all those colorful butterflies. I was amazed at how much of the color lived and was still so vibrant after all those years. And because it is indeed Arizona History Happy Hour, let's see. All right. All right. Okay. So we are going to make a delightful Negroni, which is a Prohibition era cocktail, which I fits in well with our theme of we'll be talking about the Orpheum. So, all right. So for that, it's one of those cocktails that they would use to kind of alter the taste of the bath All right. And sometimes, things happen and I just realized the screen went off. So you didn't get to see me make my delicious cocktail. You probably didn't even hear me make my delicious cocktail. But here is my delicious cocktail, my Negroni. So sorry that we blacked out, but sorry about that. All right. And there we go. So there is our recipe for Negroni. It is just an ounce of gin, an ounce of Campari, an ounce of sweet vermouth, and a little bit of an orange peel just for some added flavor. All right. So hopefully you're joining me in a cocktail, even if it's just water, because it's important to stay hydrated here in the desert, especially when our temperatures get up to triple digits. So now, through the magic of modern technology, which did not do well when I tried to make a cocktail, but you know what? We have a very special guest. Oh my gosh. How many have ever been to the Orpheum Theater? You may have been there to see a show. You may have been there on a tour. They do some really great public tours. They also do some other tours as well. So without any further ado, let me bring on my friend Laura. Hello. Oh my gosh,
Hello.
I didn't mean to catch you as you were freshening up your makeup. I am so sorry.
I'm ready for my close-up now.
From another fabulous movie.
Yes. Good
Sunset
evening.
Boulevard.
Cheers.
Indeed. Cheers, darlings.
So how are you,
All
Marshall?
right. Oh, and Kari says hello. Oh, and Blair says, oh, that was another Junior League project. Indeed.
Yes, it was.
So,
definitely.
All right. So would you like to say a few words about the Orpheum before we get going on our trivia?
Yes, of course. Of course. So the story of the Orpheum for me starts in about 1918 when Joe E. Rickards and Harry Nace kind of combined forces. Joe E. Rickards was kind of a promoter, a sports writer, went by the name of Art Rick. Harry Nace was an acrobat, an entertainer, and the two of them combined forces and formed Rickards and Nace. I believe it was Amusement Enterprises was the actual name of the company. So they started gathering up theaters here in town. And they also opened a great amusement park called Riverside Park, which had dancing and swimming, kind of an interesting
I
combination.
didn't realize that was them that opened up Riverside.
Yes. Yes,
Oh.
they opened that in the fall of 1918. And as you may recall, in 1918, there was something else very interesting going on around the country. There was the Spanish flu. So in December of 1918, Harry and Joey Rickards opened up the Strand. And they were all very excited. This was a big theater, a big move for them. And they had a successful opening. But in January, because the Spanish flu came back for its second wave, which was incredibly devastating, the city of Phoenix went into a quarantine situation. So there was city ordinances closing a lot of things like dance halls and movie theaters. And actually, Joe E. Rickards decided to go against the ordinance and open the theater and got arrested for violating the city ordinance. They ended up, it went through several judges, and eventually the judge did rule in favor of the theater owners. And the only reason that occurred is because the ordinance wasn't specific enough. Their argument was that if a church can be open, why can't a theater be open? be open? So the next time, there were several different quarantines during that time, and the next time they made sure that the ordinance was a little tighter so that all businesses were impacted. But again, so in 1918, these two formed this great partnership. And in 1925, they actually purchased the land where the Orpheum stands. original budget for the Orpheum was about $400,000. And they were entertainers and they were very passionate about providing quality entertainment in Arizona. They saw what was going on. As you know, there was a huge economic boom in Phoenix, and a lot of our great historic buildings were built during that time. So they wanted to build just an amazing theater. So they started to travel across the country and gathering up different ideas from different theaters all over the country. And I think what's the interesting thing is they definitely had a vision, and they went around and you could see through other theaters them trying to implement their vision. As a matter of fact, they opened the Rialto in Winslow, Arizona in 1927. That was the theater they opened right before the Orpheum. And some of the things that are in that theater were also incorporated into the Orpheum. So when they finally got around to breaking ground on the Orpheum, it wasn't until 1927, and the budget by that time had increased to about $500,000. And finally, when the theater opened in 1929, they finished it for $750,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was just an amazing theater. People loved coming there, and it changed hands a couple of times. It ended up becoming a Paramount. A lot of people don't remember it as the Orpheum, but they remember it as the Paramount. And then in 1968, it became Palace West, and they did like road shows. And then anybody who lived in Phoenix in the 70s, you know, the downtown area got a little seedy, I guess would be a good word for it, and interesting. And at that time, the Corona family started running the theater, and they ran Spanish language films. They even held a boxing match there. And in the 80s, City Hall decided that they wanted to build a new building, and the Orpheum was sitting on some prime real estate. And thankfully, a bunch of people stepped in, including the city of Phoenix and the Junior League of Phoenix, and helped save the theater. And they were able to restore it to its former glory. And in 1997, the theater reopened as the Orpheum. And that's pretty much the nice story.
All right. Very good. That was a chunk of change back in the day.
Yes, definitely.
Wow.
They really, it's interesting. I think my favorite part of the Orpheum is how they were so thoughtful. They really, really wanted to provide entertainment for the masses, and every kind of entertainment that you could possibly imagine. I mean, you could go there to see live performances. You could see vaudeville. In fact, they originally wanted to name the theater Marchita, but they ended up becoming part of the Radio Keith Orpheum organization. It was a vaudeville circuit. So that's how it got the name the Orpheum. And that's why you'll see other Orpheum theaters throughout the United States. They were part of that vaudeville circuit. So you had guaranteed entertainment coming through your theater on a regular basis.
Right, because they all had their own circuit and they all had their own acts they would bring through. So that's why there wasn't double booking, because they only belonged in that one theater circuit.
Right. That's exactly
so. And you know,
right.
I'm actually going to try a new toy that I just learned. Ooh. So basically, let's see if this works. All right. So Chris Williams has a question for you, Laura. Do you have any photos of Wallace and Ladno performing at the Orpheum?
Yes, we do. They were regular performers at the Orpheum in the 50s. We do have several ads for them.
Very good, because he's saying they do have a few in their archives as well. So
yes,
exactly. You know, that's one of the things I love about this is people are able to share things back and forth. So, all right. So let's see. All right. So let's get ready for a little bit of trivia. And we'll test your knowledge of the Orpheum. But, you know, don't forget, keep track of your answers. And we'll go through all the answers at the end and talk and explain them a little bit. So that way it's more about the education than it is what you know or don't know. But the end of it, it will be, you'll know a lot more. And Patty, I think that question will be answered as she's asking, how did you get involved with the Orpheum? And I think you may answer that in one of the trivia questions.
Yes.
So, all right. So first question up. What blonde bombshell posed outside the Orpheum in 1931 to promote her film, I'm No Angel? Was it A, Jean Harlow, B, Mae West, C, Carol Lombard, or D, Ginger Rogers? Which one of those lovely ladies visited the Orpheum to promote a movie that she was in? All right. Moving on to question 2. What is seen on the underside of the spiral staircase in the Orpheum? Is it A, a phoenix? Is it B, Orpheus? C, is it a peacock or is it Pan? I wonder if you can see his magic flute. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Well, if you don't know the answer, you'll all get to find out in just a few minutes. All right, question 3. Who painted the landscape murals above the sidewalls in the main auditorium? Oh, that's a good one. That one's probably also a little on the hard side for a lot of folks. All right, so A, Gene Bumpf, B, Harry Nace. Oh, was he also an artist? Besides having a theater? We're going to find out. C, James Nederlander, or D, David Swing? Which one of those folks painted the landscape murals on the sidewalls in the auditorium? All right. Question 4. What architect is credited with inventing atmospheric theaters? Was it A, John Eberson, B, Thomas Lamb, C, Joey Rickards, or D, Charles Lee? Which one of those folks do you think is credited with creating atmospheric theaters? Dee, 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 dee. Oh, I shouldn't do that because YouTube may actually then wipe it out if I spend too much time. So moseying on to question 5. We're at the halfway mark now. So what is the name of the exterior balcony on the plaza side of the Orpheum? Is it A, balcony of Orpheus? B, the Phoenix balcony? Well, that would make sense. C, balcony of the Dons? Or D, the plaza balcony? See, and you're getting lots of comments on your lovely attire as well as your background. Some of those amazing dresses. Because I'm sure you've been slaving away in this look all day long.
Yes, I have. Yes. So hard being a star.
All right. Question 6. What amenity or effect was not present when the Orpheum opened? A, disappearing organ. B, a green room for animals. Oh, I bet the Tiger King would have loved that. C, a fog machine, or D, talking pictures? What one of those did not exist when the Orpheum first opened its doors? C, what studio head attended the dedication of the Orpheum?
Ooh,
I know. Was it Carl Lammey?
wow.
Was it Winfield Sheehan? Was it Jack Warner? Or was it Louis B. Mayer? Oh, I know. Because you are ready for a close-up.
Yes.
Mr. DeMille would be so happy at this moment.
He would.
All right, we're in the home stretch now. What year was the Orpheum sold to the Paramount? Was it 1945? Was it B, 1968, C, 1929, or D, 1950? When did the Orpheum sell to Paramount? Oh, and 9. What actor was not live on the stage at the Orpheum? Was it A, Vincent Price, B, Henry Fonda, C, Fanny Bryce, or D, W.C. Fields? Which one of those actors has not been live on the stage at the Orpheum? I know, even if you know the years, it's kind of like, wow, it could be any one of those.
It could. It could be.
I'm so glad we're going to talk about these again because I don't even know the answer to that one. All right. And 10. Where is the Orpheum's best known ghost most frequently seen?
Ooh.
Is it A, the dressing room, which is where Laura is now, obviously, because of all the dresses behind you. So, of course, it would be the dressing room. Or B, the lower lounge, C, the stage, or D, in the balcony? Where do you think their best known ghost is most seen? All right. So we'll give you a few moments to collect all your answers. And we're then going to go through them. I think it's a great time to have a sip of our cocktail.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers indeed. And people are just answering fast and furious.
Yes.
All right.
So excited.
I know. All right. So let's get started with some answers. All right. So what blonde bombshell posed outside the Orpheum? Why, it was none other than Mae West.
Yes, and she is actually in a 1931 Lincoln Model K. That is the type of automobile she's in. And I know there's always been a little bit of a question as to whether it's actually Mae West in the photo. We had an interview with Margot Wood, a couple of years ago. She unfortunately passed last year, but she was affiliated with the theater and she was able to confirm that, yes, absolutely 100%, that was the one and only Mae West in the car. So we can put that rumor to rest. Yes.
And, I was talking to the Malekians and they said that when she was in town, she stayed at the San Carlos.
Yes, she did. She has her own suite there, I believe.
Indeed, as well as her own star on their Walk of Fame right out in front.
Yes, a lot of fabulous people on that Walk of Fame.
Indeed, there is. All right. So question 2. What is seen on the underside of the spiral staircase? It's a fabulous peacock.
Yeah, there are several peacocks actually on that stairwell. And unfortunately, a lot of times when people are patrons in the theater, they don't really stop to admire the architecture. And when you go down into the lower lounge and you look up and you see this magnificent staircase, it's breathtaking. And every time I go into the theater and look at it, it just takes my breath away. The other famous staircase that we have is the Phoenix staircase. And it also has the Phoenix birds incorporated into it. And it's on the opposite end of the lobby from the Peacock staircase.
Well, I always tell people whenever they go to see a show at the Orpheum, go as soon as the doors are open because you want to spend a lot of time in that architecture. Yeah. There's absolutely much beautiful stuff to take a look at instead of just whisking in, sitting in your seat and seeing the show.
I agree.
So much more to look at. All right, question 3. Who painted the landscape murals above the sidewalls in that main auditorium? D, David Swing.
So David Swing was a local artist. He actually painted some murals inside the Rialto Theater, which is now the Winslow Theater. I think they may still be at the Winslow Theater, but they might be covered in paint, just like ours were. So as I said, the theater changed hands multiple times. And during that one of the periods of time, those murals were actually painted black. So when they started to do the restoration, they came in and they were able to, David Swing or the architects were smart enough to kind of it wasn't actually painted on the wall, it was painted on canvas. They removed the canvases and shipped them off to a company where they were able to restore them to their former beauty. So we're very fortunate at that. And actually, the other two men that were options on that quiz were also affiliated. Well, all three of them were affiliated with the theater. The first one was Gene Bump, and Gene Bump was a dance instructor here in town. And these gowns that are behind me were worn by one of his students. His family was nice enough, or her family, excuse me, was nice enough to donate these 4 dresses along with 13 other outfits that we hope to display in the theater at some time in the near future. And then the other gentleman, James Niederlander, actually purchased the theater in 1968, and he was the one that renamed it to Palace West. So all of those people, including Harry Nace, were all involved with the Orpheum.
Well, and Jason says that David Swing also painted the murals inside the Blue Lodge of the Masonic Lodge just down the street from the Orpheum.
That is true.
Still there, and you can see them. They have not been painted black, luckily.
Thank goodness.
And he's saying that they'll start tours again once we get out of whatever we're in right now. They'll start doing tours of that building again, which is pretty phenomenal as well.
Well, that sounds like an excellent collaboration for us. Maybe the David Swing tour.
Same thing. You could get 2 tours for the price of 1.
Yes.
All right. So, question 4. What architect is credited with inventing atmospheric theaters? John Eberson. A.
Yeah, so John Eberson is kind of the father of the atmospheric theater. Several of the theaters that he designed are still up and running. One of them is the Tampa Theater. In Tampa Theater, they have an amazing atmospheric theater. But when Rickards and Nace, as I said before, when they traveled throughout the country, they wanted to create a different kind of experience for Arizona. And so he went with the atmospheric style, which basically means that it's like you're being transported to a different place in time. And a lot of people brag about the show before the show. So if you go into the Orpheum, the ceiling actually does a simulation of sunrise to sunset. It has stars on the ceiling and clouds. And one of the coolest things, so I'll go into it a little bit later, but I am with the Friends of the Orpheum Theater. And one of the coolest things that we got to provide for the theater was a new cloud machine. So, I got to write a check for clouds a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So the other gentleman that was on the list as an option was S. Charles Lee. He was a famous architect, and he actually designed the Fox Theater that unfortunately was torn down, but we can see in your background.
Exactly. So behind me, I have as my green screen the Fox Theater, which sadly we no longer have.
It's my understanding that some of the tin ceiling from the Fox Theater is actually in McCaffrey's, right? Attached to the San Carlos. That's where they got their ceiling from, in the bar area.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So question 5. What is the name of the exterior balcony on the plaza side of the Orpheum? C. Balcony of the Dons.
Yes. So there are conquistador heads on the actual balcony. Some of them are facing north and some of them are facing south. And there's some symbolism behind that. So they basically, it represents the conquistadors who came from the south and headed north in dreams of finding riches. And when they didn't, they kind of came back, which is the south side, south facing helmets, and ended up settling kind of a little bit in Arizona. So they tried to also incorporate a little bit of our own heritage into the exterior of the building, which is very nice.
Very cool. All right. Question 6. What amenity was not present when the theater opened its doors? C. A fog machine.
No fog machine. That probably came in the 80s when they had a lot of concerts. So they probably had one, but it was not until the 80s. We did have the disappearing organ. The organ we have now is not original to the theater. The original organ was a Meisner Sullivan, and when they did the restoration, the Valley of the Sun chapter of the American Theater Society helped provide a mighty Wurlitzer theater organ for our theater. And it comes out at least twice a year for Silent Sundays. So I would encourage anybody who has never been to the theater or never seen a silent movie to join one of those two events, because it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. So I would encourage that. We also he also had a room, a dressing room, a green room for animals. Like I said, they wanted to provide all kinds of different entertainment for the theater. So they had a lot of animal acts, and those animals had their own special area that they could hang out in. And as far as talking pictures, well, it's kind of interesting. There were two different systems incorporated. One of them was Vitaphone, which was sound on disc. And if you guys are film buffs, you probably remember the famous scene in Singing in the Rain where she's like, no, 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 yes, yes, yes. That's what that kind of technology was. It was the sound was etched actually on a record, and sometimes it would get out of sync. So movie tone actually became the preferred method of showing films, because the sound was actually incorporated on the film itself. And a lot of the older people in the audience might remember movie tone as being the films, the newsreels that you would see in the beginning of movies. Yeah, so they didn't want to limit the amount of entertainment they could provide, so they put in two different sound systems.
Well, and I've heard a rumor that there may be a new film system going into the Orpheum.
That is true.
Oh,
That is
my
true.
gosh. All right.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing when we get out of all of this, we can go see movies at the Orpheum.
Exactly.
All right. Number 7. What studio head attended the dedication of the Orpheum? Why, it was A. Carl Laemmle.
Yes, he was with Universal Films. The house was theater was originally affiliated with Universal. The second choice there, Mr. Sheehan, was with Fox, and of course Jack Warner was with Warner Brothers, and Louis B. Mayer was with MGM. But the theater opened originally with Universal Theater backing.
Wow. All right. What year was the Orpheum sold to the Paramount? Oh, wow. It was that early?
This is a trick question. Right before the stock market fell, Rickards and Nace sold their shares to Publix, which was a subsidiary of Paramount. Part of that deal was that Harry Nace would stay on board to manage the theater, but it definitely was sold to Paramount at that time. The marquee on the theater did not change to the Paramount until 1951. But during that time, prior to that, it was a Paramount house.
Wow. All right. As we're coming to the end, and which actor did not perform on the stage of the Orpheum? Why, it was D.W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields. Yeah, I was not able to find any record of him. We did have Fanny Brice with the Ziegfeld Follies. She came in 1935. Vincent Price also came to the theater in 1950 as part of a film. And then Henry Fonda was there playing Lincoln as part when it was Palace West, and that would have been in 1971.
Oh, and I love the movie Baron of Arizona.
Yeah, and
based on
another
the whole
interesting
idea.
Yeah, we've had quite a few. Lauren Bacall actually came to Orpheum as well when it was part of Palace West, and Mary Martin. They had a lot of big name people at the theater back in the Palace West days, and of course Wallace and Ladmo in the 50s.
Wow, so lots of people have graced the stage of the Orpheum.
Yes,
but never W.C. Fields. That's so interesting. All right. So our last question, where is the Orpheum's best known ghost most frequently seen? And that would be D, the balcony.
Yes, and her name is Maddie, and that's actually how I became affiliated with the Orpheum Theater. I was a ghost tour guide in downtown Phoenix since I think I began in 2007, and when the owner of the San Carlos did not wish to have tours anymore, me and my partner Joe actually went to the streets and we started to kind of hang outside the Orpheum, and we did a lot of research on Maddie. And then we helped the board, the Friends of the Orpheums. It became a fundraiser for them. And I think I've been there, done a year of tours when I was asked to join the board. So I am the treasurer for the board for the Friends of the Orpheum Theater. It's just such a wonderful thing. It's so amazing to be able to have this be a part of my legacy. And I will forever be grateful for the ghosts in the downtown Phoenix area, because if it hadn't been for them, I probably wouldn't have gotten involved in the history of Phoenix or the Orpheum. So thanks to the ghosts.
Wow. And and I love, my friend Anita said she only got 3 out of 10, but that's half the fun of this is then the learning. So now you have more stories about the Orpheum, about dates and what some of those things are called. I mean, I didn't realize it was Balcony of the Dons.
Yep, I could probably spend 2 hours going over the different things that go on, yeah, and the different architecture. Every time I go in there, I see something new, and I think that's part of the fun of the Orpheum.
Right. I mean, and so many stories in the Orpheum.
So many great stories, and again, just so very grateful for all the people that helped save it. The city of Phoenix, the Phoenix Junior League, all of the volunteers that we have that are so sad right now and missing the theater. We have wonderful volunteers and who help us out in so many different ways. And we'll be back soon. I promise. We'll be back in there. We'll be doing our free public tours. We'll be doing our ghost tour, so you can come and see her in person again.
All right. Well, I look forward to when we can all come and visit the Orpheum again. Thank you so much for joining us, Laura. And thank you for such a great quiz that I think really challenged a lot of folks, which was nice. But now they know even more than they did when they came into it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Marshall. I really enjoyed being here tonight and being able to share the Orpheum with everyone.
All right. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your night. And now you can take off the wig. I'm assuming it's a wig. I don't know.
No, this is all natural. This is natural. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, Laura. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
All right. Wow, that was so much fun. There were so many things I didn't know about the Orpheum. What an amazing building that we still have that in the middle of downtown. So now we go on to Arizona music. So which I like to do, I'll plug our next week. We have Johnny D, who is kind of, I would say, the music historian for Arizona. Pretty much he's my go-to guy when I have a question. And so he's going to be on here talking all about Arizona music. And so today I had the pleasure of doing a program for a group of women talking about some amazing women in Arizona. And one of my favorites is Wonder Woman, or Linda Carter, who played Wonder Woman on TV in that series. She was also a beauty queen, winning multiple awards, but she got her start on the stage with Lou King and the Ragers when she was only 5 years old. She then from there went on to be in a variety of bands, even recording her own album called Portraits. And she played everywhere from a Pizza Hut in Tucson all the way to Caesar's Palace. So a varied music career, as well as writing music. She then went on to TV and not only was Wonder Woman, but had her own variety shows where she had Tom Jones, Ray Charles. She was even on an episode of The Muppets where the whole joke was they thought it was Wonder Woman coming. So they all dressed up as superheroes. And of course, Miss Piggy was Wonder Pig. And so they were all a little crestfallen when they found out it was just Linda Carter. But what a fun episode that is. Now we're going to, well, let's go ahead and do Little Arizona. So, there's the town Amado, Arizona, which is in Santa Cruz County, right here, has a population of just under 300. It's nestled in the Santa Cruz River Valley. The picturesque beauty of Amado is paradise for bird watchers, nature lovers, and folks alike. The wide range of ecosystems extends from rugged peaks and pine forest of the Santa Rita Mountains, named for the patroness of impossible causes, and spring-filled canyons to the Sonoran Desert and Santa Cruz River Valley. So it's a little town just north of Tubac, and was also where they filmed Oklahoma, What a Beautiful Morning, that was filmed right outside of Amado, as well as there was a scene from Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore filmed there. And it's also famous for the Longhorn Grill, where you get to walk in through the skull of a steer to go get your steak. Now, it was also on the way to Tucson. So it started off as a stop off for basically traveling even before there was the highway, and there was the halfway station. It then became a gas station restaurant, and the food was supposed to be so good at the restaurant that Elizabeth Taylor would have her beans airmailed to her wherever she was from that restaurant because she liked them so much. Now, just those movies and things, those are not the only places you can see stars in Amado. Why, there's also U of A has an observatory there where you can sit and watch the stars go as well. So Amado is such a fun little town. So I hope once this is all over, we all get a chance to go there and explore. We're going to forego from the Hist-O-Cam because we have some great stuff, because we have a question from you. I got an email from a friend that said that she was in the process of, she had just gotten herself this tricycle. And as they started taking it apart to clean it and refurbish it, they started finding things. So, we do know it belonged to Pearl. I think the last name is Bendel, but we've not been able to find out who Pearl Bendel was. But when they were taking it apart, they discovered that the transmission for the tricycle was actually made right here in town by Rhett Bar, but also put together by a company out of El Mirage. And so she was asking me if I knew anything about this company or Rhett Bar. And, since libraries are closed, that was usually my first source to go to, would have been to go visit the library and look up the company and see what we could find. But she did pass on this ad that was for the bicycle company as well as the transmission. So we have a little bit of information kind of about what was going on there. So if you know any more, please share with us. Also, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, we can feature them right here. So now, do you have any questions? I know we brought up Lou King and the Rangers a lot. So some of you may not know that he was local and did a TV show, actually started off as a radio show, migrated to TV, and a slew of stars performed on his show. We might get into that next week, so I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to steal any of Johnny D's thunder. So I will let him go down that path if he chooses. But that's going to be a really amazing show. So much fun stuff. I'm also working with the Arizona LGBT History Project, which is a collaboration between Phoenix Pride and ASU Archives, as we work together to start documenting and preserving that LGBT history right here in Arizona. A lot of times when people think of this history, they think New York, San Francisco, LA. But we have so much history right here. And so we're trying to capture as many stories as we can and share those for people. So that way in the future, we have those. And also Linda Carter was a Grand Marshal for the Pride Parade in 2010. I'm also part of the Arizona Adventure Sign Coalition. And one of the amazing things, we have become a hotbed of neon right here in Arizona, of neon preservation. If you're in Tucson, they've got a mile of neon that's been redone. They also have the Ignite Sign Museum. But then as you're coming north, if you stop off in Casa Grande, they have a neon park that has 10 signs right now. And they're getting ready to add more, and it's a park. So even though we're in quarantine, if you do make it to Casa Grande, that park is still open, so you can be socially responsible and still go visit some amazing neon signs. I am also on the board of the Arizona Apparel Foundation. The founders, Sherry and Angela, as well as the director, they have done an amazing job of really kind of stepping up the game of fabric, and they have gone down the path of making PPE gowns. So really in the span of about 2 to 3 weeks, they went from doing not much, but through a huge learning curve, they are now have 3 lines producing medical gowns that are certified and supplying those to local hospitals and other health organizations. I'm actually going to try and stop in tomorrow to see kind of what the buzz feels like and what all is going on there. So I'm looking so forward to getting a chance to see how they've changed and kind of the important work that they're doing. I know that they actually had fabric airlifted in by the National Guard, as well as they just had a truckload of fabric delivered earlier this week, bright and early in the morning, and they actually recruited some local policemen to help unload it off the truck. So if you'd like to reach out and ask a question, you can do that either through Facebook, Marshall Hip Historian, or you can email me at hellohiphistorian. Now, if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see it continue and support it, you can also Venmo some support to @MarshallShore. And that would be greatly appreciated. But I love doing this weekly as a way to kind of share more of our history, bringing on guests, and really getting a chance to talk about history in a different way than you can find in most places. And as I said, next week, we will have Johnny D coming on and talking about some amazing Arizona music history. It's going to be such a fun show. We're going to be, I'm sure, talking about all kinds of things, which will be really great. And it'll definitely be a learning experience for everyone involved, because Johnny D is such an encyclopedia of Arizona music history and heritage. So that's all I have for you this evening. So thank you all for tuning in. And join us next week when we'll have another cocktail, which you might actually get to see once I figure out kind of what went awry and why you couldn't see my cocktail. But you can at least see me taking a last drink. And I will see you all next week at the same bat channel, the same bat time right here, whatever your method is, whether it's on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube. You can see it in multiple ways. And next week, it's going to be just Arizona music all around. So thank you all so much for being here. And I look forward to being here again. Oh, yes. And yes. And Jeanette's asking about the last four digits for Venmo, and they indeed are 5421. So thank you all so much. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a great rest of your evening. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll be putting up a cocktail in the next few days. So that way you can get all your items gathered. So that way you can join us in all sharing the same cocktail. So again, thank you all so much and have a great evening.